Hello, dear beloveds. Such a privilege to join you on this Sunday evening. I am straight out of the shower, post-yoga, in my pajamas, Ugg boots on, and really felt very much that I wanted to help myself as much as anyone else who may be feeling what I'm feeling, to take some energetic action in response to a situation that is occurring in Melbourne right now. And perhaps this situation isn't necessarily uncommon, or the reasons that this situation is occurring is not necessarily uncommon. We are in a pandemic. Australia has had a really good capacity to manage the pandemic, but in Melbourne right now, where I am, we are experiencing a resurgence in the numbers, and I guess that's not unexpected. This is how highly contagious infections behave, and it's naive to think otherwise. But what's happened in the last 24 hours in Melbourne is quite extraordinary, in that there are a certain number of suburbs which have housing that's provided by the state, by the government. And these housing estates are quite old. I think they were built in the 60s. And they are towers. They're towers of apartments. And these apartments are often, or units, I guess, these apartments and units are often considered to be areas of extreme disadvantage, extreme vulnerability, low socioeconomic access, complex mental health issues, often newly arrived Australians experiencing trauma from whatever they've fled from, survivors of war, and far greater things, terrors than I can possibly imagine. And these 9 housing estates in Melbourne, which are all in 3 suburbs in very local areas, very local to one another areas, have been put into absolute and immediate lockdown. So that means that if you were trying to leave your house at, like, I don't know what time yesterday when it started, at like 3 o'clock yesterday, to go buy your groceries, which is a pretty normal thing to do on a Saturday, you would have been met by, I think there's around 500 police who are guarding the entrance to these towers, where there's around 3,000 people. Now, I guess why this is sort of really activating me, even though there are 36 suburbs across Melbourne who are also being required to be in what we call stage 3 restrictions. And I'm talking to you as though you're not from Melbourne, or you're not from Australia even, because everywhere around the world is having a different response to the pandemic. But I just want to give a bit of a background to what's happening here. So there's been 36 suburbs that have already been required to go back to stage 3 restrictions, which means you can leave your house to exercise, to go to work or school, or to, for essential needs like medical care and food. And otherwise you can't see people, you can't have people over, you can't have any of what the rest of Melbourne has had, which is an easing of those restrictions, so that we can actually, even though it's very well managed, we're able to have more access to the world. We can see our friends, we can see our family members, and for these 36 suburbs, that has been taken away. What's happening in these 3 suburbs, in these 9 towers of these 3,000 people, is that these people have been told, and it is being enforced by 500 police, that they can't leave their house at all for no reason. And that is a really complex response to what they believe, what the government believes is happening in these towers, is that there is a real risk of massive spreads of infection if anyone in these towers is allowed to leave. Now, I am not here with any political agenda. I have no opinion on the rightness or the wrongness of this action. I don't have any conspiracy theories about COVID-19. My life is too important to waste my time trying to understand the machinations of the dream. I'm here to be able to support the evolution of consciousness by holding the highest possible vibration where there is doubt, where there is fear, where there is darkness. And so I'm not here to offer my opinion on any of it. I don't have an opinion on any of it. But what I do know is that there is this very intensive, very focused area in somewhere very close to where I live, where around 3,000 people have suddenly been plunged into a form of imprisonment. And with that will come great fear. Yes. And my responsibility, what I feel very strongly to do, is to offer what I can energetically. I'm also offering funds financially to support whatever resources are required. And I'll share the link if you feel to do so. As I said, these are Melbourne's most vulnerable people, the poorest and the most vulnerable, and in terms of domestic violence, mental health, addiction, there's so much complexity around these people's lives, and to suddenly be told that you cannot leave your home for 5 days for any reason, not to walk, not to get fresh air, would be an extremely scary thing. And that fear is something that I can support with energy. And it's as simple as that. So that's what I'm here for, and that's what I invited you to be here for. It's not to give you any opinion on any reasons why this is good or this is bad or whatever. All around the world right now, the world is dealing with the pandemic, and in Australia we've been very blessed. We've had very low numbers, very minimal numbers of death. We've had a great response from our governments. We've got really well resourced free healthcare. We've really had an incredibly easy time. And this is a challenge. This is an unexpected challenge. And there's a lot of people who are feeling a deep sense of, oh my God, what if I miss out on this holiday, or going to that conference, or booking that flight, or, the things that we have taken for granted in the pre-pandemic age. And for me, this is another opportunity to get humble and surrender my will to divine will. I don't know why this is happening, but I know that I trust God. And perhaps you also feel the need to remind yourself of that tonight. And I certainly did. I went through my day today just feeling a sense of agitation and a call to take some action in response to this. And of course, as I said, I'm donating what I can to support the people who are on the ground trying to get resources to these communities. But be above and beyond that, my work is to work at the energetic level. And I know that the more of us that gather with that intention of easing the suffering of the human collective experience by holding the highest possible vibration, that is my task, to gather us. And that is our life's work, right? No opinions, no beliefs, not coming in with any stories. I am simply desiring to offer whatever I can to ease the suffering of those, not just in those 3,000 people in those 9 towers. And just think how densely packed in those people are. And when we're thinking about our nature as electromagnetic beings, and this idea of emotional contagion is a very real thing, that if you are in close quarters with people who are in fear, and that is sort of being held inside of these buildings, and then these buildings are in close quarters to each other, you can see how this really could become a very, very heavy energy very, very quickly. So my vision for us is to rain down the blessings of the highest possible vibration, not with an agenda for how things should go, not with an idea that we should try and end COVID. We don't know why COVID's happening. It could be the greatest gift the planet's ever seen, but to ease the suffering of those who are on the front line. And then, of course, for those who are in the 36 suburbs that are locked down. And then, of course, for the entire planet who, everywhere, no one is excluded from this. No one is outside of this experience. And I think there's a little bit of privilege we have in Australia for the majority where, we've had such a kind of, fairly easy run of it that I think there's almost a feeling of resentment, like, oh my God, why is this happening now? And this kind of like, I'm going to miss out on something. And I really wanted that thing. And if you can't get your shit together, Victoria, like there's a lot of funny memes. I've shared some, Spice Girl related. But it's also really important that we recognize that, okay, so there's more work to do. So I've been talking a little bit, but we're going to go into a practice together now. I'm just going to let God lead. I haven't planned anything, but I know my intention is to, as I say, to hold the highest possible vibration, no agenda. We're not showing up trying to fix or heal, but really to hold the highest possible vibration and let that be taken to wherever it is required. Now, of course, I'm not into astro weather, but I do like to follow cycles, and it is a full moon, and that full moon has a really gentle energy to it. It's, as my yoga teacher said tonight, it's not the Leo full moon where we go out and party. It is really the time for coming inwards to really be gentle and reflective, and I think that's the perfect energy for what we're going to do together this evening. And really, this won't be long, but it will be a request to go inwards to really overcome the belief in separation. So I'm going to invite you to do something that might feel uncomfortable, and I'm okay with that. And I would like you also, very often when we look at this idea of holding the highest possible vibration, we're like, for all those people out there who are suffering, who need it, here's some high vibration. I'm sending it out to you. You're over there, I'm over here. Very convenient, because I'm not where you are, and therefore I'm not infected by that suffering. And there's a relief in that. There's like oh, thank God, I can be all love and light, but as long as that's not on my doorstep, right? Thank God. Whew, I pray for all these people. But actually, there's only one of us here. The first law of mentalism states that all is one. So even though we may not feel as though we are literally locked into our tiny apartments in a tower of 3,000 people, or 9 towers of 3,000 people, and that the risk of a pandemic breaking out in those close quarters is obviously imminent, otherwise the government wouldn't be taking this action. I am that. And that is the starting point for what we're going to do together tonight. And I'm okay if that makes you uncomfortable. It makes me a bit uncomfortable, but it's absolutely the practice of our lives, is to overcome the belief in separation. Because when we work on this paradigm of healing or praying for or meditating for or setting intentions for others, it's so easy to fall into they're over there and I'm over here, and there's a part of me that's relieved. I can be noble and good and show up to prayers and meditations, because thank God that's not me. And I want to shift that. I want us to go into a state of being tonight where we are that, and we feel that, and we let ourselves be present to that. Now, that is in no way making you vulnerable. It's in no way going to activate any trauma from your past. This is not about you. This is not about the little individual ego-identified self who's had a series of experiences that may be triggered by this event. This is about your God self holding you as your God self in its other forms, seemingly separate forms, on the other side of the world, the other side of Australia, the other side of Melbourne, and holding your God self fully present to that space and time that is occurring there, and not trying to, from outside, like a great kind of healer and leader or whatever, being all noble and sending in the good energy, but from within you are holding the highest possible vibration in absolute humility of knowing the truth that I am that vulnerable, scared, lonely, isolated person, locked into her unit, unable to get out, unable to do the things that bring me comfort, unable to reach the people who bring me ease. I am that. And from within this, I will hold that possibility of letting the light enter. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope that is not scary for you, because it shouldn't be, because overcoming the belief in separation is our healing, dear ones. And whilst we come from a paradigm of I'm sending good vibes to the bad places, we are completely missing the point. There's only one of us here, and that is our freedom, and that is how we truly are able to serve. So let's do this, okay? Thank you. Thank you for being here. This is big work on a Sunday evening, and I'm asking you to show up in a really big way. And I think that's why we're here, right? We're spiritually fierce. So we're going to begin by going into some heart congruence together. And as I said, I'm letting God lead, so we'll go where God wants us to go. All right. If you're safe to do so, I'm going to invite you to close down your eyes. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, just eyes open, soft gaze at a point in front of you. We're going to begin to deepen the breath, inhaling through the nose, expanding the belly as much as possible, and then exhaling out through the mouth with an audible sigh. Letting go of all the effort required to bring you to this moment in your day. And doing that 2 more times in your own natural rhythm, just letting yourself anchor fully into this moment now. You're probably on your phone, there's probably kids around, there's probably 100 million other tabs open or things to think about, but can you just surrender? Can you come home to this ever-present now? Using my voice as an anchor, letting yourself drop out of that high beta brainwave state, and coming into presence, that alpha, expansive, intuitive, creative brainwave state. Simply by closing your eyes, deepening your breath, you're signifying to your nervous system, you're very safe. You're safe to be here. You're safe to do the deep work of a deep faith in service to those who do not know how to serve themselves, in service to the greater good, in service to the I am that is our truth. And now taking 2 fingers or the palm of your hand to the center of your chest, letting that touch signify to your consciousness that you're dropping out of your cranial brain and dropping into your heart's intuitive intelligence. And knowing that what we do together is exponentially increased in power. Those who are here now and those who will watch back later, time is irrelevant in a quantum universe. We combine our consciousness to create a ripple in the field that is exponentially more powerful than what we could do individually. That is why we gather. And bringing to mind now, if you need to, something, someone, a moment in time that brings you deep feelings of gratitude, appreciation, compassion. You might even allow yourself to think about those who are having to make great sacrifices to protect the greater population of Melbourne and Australia right now, feeling compassion for those people who have had this mighty responsibility thrust upon them with no preparation. No one asked them to be a superhero, but that is the role they've been tasked with. Feeling maybe deep appreciation and gratitude for those who are doing the hard things for us. Feeling our absolute sense of appreciation for the freedom that we possess. The freedom not only to go where we want to go and see who we want to see, and largely to be free, even if it is inside of restrictions, but free enough to know how to work with our fear productively. Free enough to gather together on a Sunday to do something that is for no personal gain, that will not immediately benefit us or manifest anything for us or get us anything, but to show up selflessly, to give up some time that you could perhaps be using to relax or hang out with friends or have a drink, and to choose instead to show up for these next few minutes in the fullness of your sacred power, to shine light where there is darkness. And in your mind's eye, you might see us all now, all those who are here now and those who will listen back later, as though we are gathered in a circle together, dear ones, holding hands. And feeling that sense of expansion at your heart as you fiercely hold your feeling state upon these feelings of gratitude, compassion, appreciation. And in the middle of our circle are all those affected by this particular situation in Melbourne. Just seeing perhaps the buildings, these 9 towers, if you know what they look like, they're not pretty. 9 tall towers holding 3,000 people who may or may not be able to comprehend what is happening for them right now, who may not even be able to speak a language that is translated, this information being shared in a way that's comprehensible to them, who may be afraid of becoming sick themselves. Whatever the story, and there will be 3,000 unique stories. Just allowing your heart to expand, to encompass those 3,000, knowing that you are unlimited consciousness. And we are gathered together, you are united with all of us as one. Our hearts creating a field that is holding so much more than we can hold alone. And I invite you now to place your consciousness upon these 9 towers. Perhaps you feel, see, hear, or imagine that you are now inside one of these tiny units. You're not afraid. Maybe you feel even as though you're the guardian angel that someone has been praying for. You might see inside of the unit that you've arrived into, there is someone there, and perhaps they are afraid. And your presence there in this heart congruent state suddenly elevates the frequency of that environment. For no reason at all, it's like the temperature in the room changes and the pressure releases like a valve being opened. And that person can breathe more easily because you placed your attention and intention upon that moment in time. Don't doubt that what you're seeing is absolutely real. You've been taken to the right place at the right moment. Combining all of our energies, you are absolutely able to serve this individual and all those in fear at this time. Breathe deeply, feeling that deep sense of gratitude for your spiritual superpower, your fierceness. And now expanding outwards, feel, see, hear, or imagine that you are now floating above or around, still in our glorious circle, those 3,000 people in those 9 towers. And as you float, holding the highest possible vibration by staying attuned to that feeling of gratitude, of compassion, you realize that these 3,000 people, these towers in Melbourne, in 3 suburbs, they are a macrocosm. They are a tiny part of the whole. They are a fractal, showing us the entire consciousness of humanity. These people may be in suffering right now, but the entire planet is full of people who are in fear all of the time as well. What the law tells us is all is one. And as we place our attention here, we are inevitably increasing the vibration of the entire planet. There is only one of us here. And as you maintain that sense of absolute compassion, you notice that you are not separate You are part of this scene. You are not afraid to be here. You are holding the light from within the buildings and outside of the buildings. You are holding the light from your home wherever you are in the world right now, and as though you are in Melbourne. For this is the true nature of consciousness, dear one. Wherever you place your attention, there you are, not abstractly, but literally. Wherever you place your attention, there you are. And now notice that our circle has expanded even further, and we are surrounding now the entire planet. We're holding Mother Gaia in our embrace, holding these feelings of compassion for our mother who is working always so hard for our benefit. Feeling her breathe as we breathe. Feeling the consciousness of nearly 8 billion people as ourselves. We are breathing in as one. We are breathing out as one. You may feel to place your hand in your lap at this point as we now hold the mental image of the planet as though it is floating just in front of our heart chakra. As you breathe in, feel, sense, or imagine that the globe, the entire planet, is drawn into your heart cavity, into the cathedral of your heart. And for a moment you hold the entire planet inside of your heart, inside of your heart chakra, inside of your very being, holding the planet. And as you exhale, the planet moves back out to hover in front of your heart chakra. Inhale Mother Gaia into your chest cavity, holding her inside your ribs, up against your anatomical heart, your lungs, feeling the energy of your heart wrapping all around her, and exhaling out, she hovers in front of your heart. Breathe her in, drawing the entire planet, that beautiful blue and green orb, into your chest, into the very center of your being. And exhale, she hovers in front of your heart. Breathe in, we purify. Exhale, we bless. Breathe in, we sanctify. Exhale, we love. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathing the entire planet into your being. Hold her inside of your heart. Breathe her in and breathe her out. All of her, all of that which you would judge as bad, all that you love and adore, breathe it all in. It is you. It is me. Breathe it out. It is all. Breathe it in. Everything you've rejected, everything you hate, everything you're afraid of, breathe it all in, breathe it out. It is all. Breathe it in, everything you've ever loved, every place you've ever been, every food you've ever eaten that you've adored, every child you've ever birthed, breathe it all in and then breathe it out. I am that. Breathe it in. I am. Breathe it out. That I am. Breathe it in. I am. Breathe it out. That I am. And now hold the planet in front of your heart, hovering there, held by all of us who are here now and those who will listen back later. Our power exponentially increased as we call upon all of the forces, all of the benevolent forces of the cosmos to hold us as we hold Mother Gaia, and to know that we do not do this work alone, and we do not do this work for ourselves, that we are always being called to come forward in the name of sacred service, how may I be of service? Where there is suffering, how may I be of service? And let that be your constant prayer, knowing that you are not ever doing this on your own, and that you are never doing it for the other, for there is only one of us here. Take a deep breath in through the nose, let it go out through the mouth with an audible sigh. Let us pray, repeating out loud or silently after me the Healer's Prayer from A Course in Miracles. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent she who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, for she who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever she wishes, knowing she goes there with me. I will be healed as I let her teach me to heal. And so it is, and it is so. And dear God, we ask now that all that we have generated together as a collective be used in your name, directed with your intention and infinite intelligence to wherever it is most required. And we know that the energy that we have generated together in your name is benevolent and ever-growing. And that simply by placing our attention upon our heart's intuitive intelligence, we contribute more and more light to the greater collective consciousness. We know that we do not need to know the outcome. We do not need to know how things should go. We do not need to judge events as good or bad. We simply trust you, God. We trust you. And we're not afraid. And we are so deeply privileged to be here in service. It is the work of our lives. And I will chant now 3 rounds of the Gayatri mantra. If you know it and you would like to join me, please do join in. And if you would just like to listen and let the sound wash over you, knowing that this mantra has been chanted billions of times, trillions of times all over the planet. And we are attuning our frequency. We're anchoring into the frequency of this most holy Maha Mother Mantra, and anchoring the service that we have generated here together, and allowing ourselves to now let go of attachment to outcome, to let go of trying to figure out what will happen or how it will happen or how it will affect us individually, but to surrender even more, surrender to what has been created and to let it go with absolute certainty. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitu Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitu Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitu Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for participating this evening, this morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you, and contributing your most incredible sacred power and to offering just some relief from suffering for those who may not know or may not have the capacity right now to do this for themselves. We do it knowing that we are that, I am that, and that space is the space of absolute humility. There's no distance far enough away that prevents us from that truth. We are that. Whatever suffering we see, we are in that, and we can contribute something to that, to offer something without attachment to outcome. So thank you for going into that deep practice with me. I'm really, really humbled and grateful. It was a very last minute decision, and yet absolutely certain that even if I was the only one here, it was going to need to happen. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for this community, and as part of the celebrations of 5 years of the Institute, to know that this community has grown to 5,000 plus in the last 5 years is a testament to the depth of all of your commitment to being here and to showing up and doing the damn work without, worrying about it. Is it convenient? Is this, surrender. And yes, it would be so great if suddenly all of the disappointments and, challenges of this pandemic would suddenly find a resolution, but maybe that's not going to happen. And how do we maintain our sense of faith and trust in God? And how do we stay committed to the deep work, even though things may be going very differently to our expectations? Do you trust God? Are you a fair weather faith person? Are you a fair weather friend of God? Or do you trust God when everything that you think should be happening, or a lot of what you think should be happening, isn't happening? Can you be in that state of absolute humility, which is, I don't know what's supposed to happen. I'm stuck in this human dream right now, but I'm willing to trust. And that faith opens more and more light up within us, and it allows us to then see more of the spiritual perspective, or the sacred side, the symbolic meaning of our life events, and that is freedom. To not be wedded to the ego's interpretation of reality is freedom, absolute freedom. So at these times, I encourage you, it is full moon. As I say, full moon is one of those beautiful events that, you can conjure the energy of the full moon any day, doesn't matter. But there's a lot of people who place a lot of attention on the full moon. And so tap into that. Wherever we place our attention, there we are, right? So full moon, lots of people focused on that, lots of people setting intentions, lots of people, using that energy to create something greater than themselves. And I would invite you, if you're setting your full moon intentions today, tonight, tomorrow, whenever you do it, what on that list is about the truth that all is one? And if there's nothing on that list other than you trying to get your ego's needs met and masquerading that as being really spiritual because you're doing it on the full moon, maybe it's time to look at where am I showing up in service? And, that's not a criticism. It's just part of our evolution of understanding how we use our spiritual tools and how we're taught to use our spiritual tools, which is often as a way to get the shopping list of your ego's needs met. But what if the end of suffering, the release from fear, the arrival of peace for the greater good, for the collective consciousness, the release from pain for all was your purpose, and everything else sort of just happens after that? Maybe you'd find that the riches that you're seeking are thrust upon you, not because, you're a good person and God's keeping a scorecard, but because you're no longer attached to the outcome of trying to manipulate anything into being, and you're actually here with only one purpose, which is to awaken to the truth. And because there's only one of us here, that awakening to truth is, of course, on behalf of all. So that's my 2 cents, and I'd love to hear about your experiences. Please feel free to share anything you want. Share your full moon intentions with us, and with that capacity of self-reflection and humility, notice if there's a need for a few things on there that are not just about your own personal gain. All right, dear beloveds, thank you for gathering with me tonight, and anything else you want to do on behalf of the collective right now. It is our 5th birthday, and I am so open to any suggestions or ideas you have of how we can celebrate in this community, because it's such an important part of the place where we get to show up and hang out. I'm going to leave you there. I'm off to do a full moon story time with my yoga teacher, Uma Spender, online. I think you can probably still join. I think we're working with Carly tonight. I'm not sure, but Uma's a consummate storyteller, and I'm very excited to crawl into bed and listen to her tell me some full moon story, and, set some pretty epic global intentions as well. All my love. Have a beautiful night, day, wherever you are.